Maria Santos pushed her cleaning cart down the gleaming marble corridor of the Riverside Medical Center, the wheels squeaking softly in the pre-dawn silence. At 62, her back ached with every step, but she wore her smile like armor, the same smile she'd worn for 37 years as a janitor. It was 5:47 a.m., and most of the world was still sleeping, but Maria had learned long ago that invisible people keep the world running. She had also learned that kindness costs nothing, even when it's met with cruelty. Especially then. The third-floor psychiatric wing was her last stop before her shift ended, and that's where she encountered her greatest test of patience, Eleanor Whitmore, a sharp-tongued woman in her 80s who seemed to collect grievances the way others collected stamps. Every morning, Maria found her sitting in the common area, ready with a fresh complaint. "You're late," Eleanor snapped the moment Maria appeared, though Maria was actually 15 minutes early. "And you missed a spot yesterday. Right there, by the window. Do you even know how to clean?" Maria simply nodded, her smile never wavering. "Good morning, Mrs. Whitmore. I hope you slept well. I'll make sure that spot shines today." "Don't patronize me," Eleanor shot back, her cloudy eyes narrowing. "I know what you people think of me." This was their routine. Day after day, week after week, Eleanor would hurl insults like stones, and Maria would catch each one with grace, never letting them bruise her spirit. The other staff members avoided Eleanor, requesting different assignments, whispering about the impossible woman in 307. But Maria never complained. She simply showed up, cleaned, and treated Eleanor with a dignity the old woman seemed determined to reject. What no one knew, what Maria never told anyone, was that Eleanor reminded her of her own mother in those final, confused years before Alzheimer's had taken her. Maria understood that anger often masked fear, that cruelty could be a shield against vulnerability. So each morning, she arrived with that same gentle smile and a determination to see past the thorns to whatever flower might be hiding beneath. "Mrs. Whitmore, I brought you some fresh flowers from my garden," Maria said one morning, producing a small bundle of lavender from her bag. "They help with sleep. You can put them on your nightstand." "I don't want your charity," Eleanor snarled, but Maria noticed her gnarled fingers reaching out, touching the purple blooms with something almost like tenderness before she caught herself and pulled back. "Take them away." Maria left them on the side table anyway. The weeks turned into months. Maria learned Eleanor's patterns, how she became more agitated when it rained, how she softened slightly when classical music played in the common area, how she always stared out the window at 6:15 a.m. as if waiting for something that never came. Maria began arriving earlier, making sure Eleanor's favorite chair was positioned perfectly to catch the morning light. She learned to move quietly around the old woman's space, understanding that Eleanor needed control over something in a life where she'd lost control of nearly everything. "Why do you keep coming back?" Eleanor asked one morning, her voice less hostile than usual, more genuinely curious. "Why don't you request a different floor like everyone else?" Maria paused in her cleaning, meeting Eleanor's eyes directly. "Because you deserve kindness, Mrs. Whitmore. Everyone does. Even on their worst days. Especially then." Something flickered across Eleanor's face, surprise, perhaps, or the ghost of some buried emotion. Then the wall came back up. Sentimental nonsense. Just clean the floors. But after that day, the insults came less frequently. Eleanor still complained, still criticized, still wore her anger like a coat, but occasionally, very occasionally, she would say, "Thank you," so quietly Maria almost missed it. Those tiny moments felt like victories. Maria never expected recognition. She'd built a life on small kindnesses, helping confused patients find their rooms, staying late to comfort someone's crying family member, bringing homemade empanadas to share with the night shift. Her paycheck was modest, her apartment was small, and her clothes were second-hand, but she was rich in the ways that mattered. Her daughter, Rosa, was in nursing school. That was Maria's real treasure. Then came the morning everything changed. Maria arrived at 5:30 a.m. to find the third floor in chaos. Nurses were whispering urgently, administrators were making phone calls, and Eleanor's room was empty. Maria's heart clenched with worry as she approached a nurse. "Mrs. Whitmore, is she okay?" The nurse looked at her with surprise. "You're Maria? She's been asking for you. She had a fall last night, nothing serious, but she's very agitated. She won't let anyone near her. She keeps saying she needs to see Maria." Maria rushed to the medical wing, her cart forgotten, her heart pounding. She found Eleanor in a hospital bed, looking smaller and more fragile than ever, her usual armor of anger replaced by something raw and frightened. When Eleanor saw Maria, tears began streaming down her weathered cheeks. "I thought you wouldn't come," Eleanor whispered, her voice breaking. "I thought I'd lost my chance to tell you." Maria took the old woman's hand, so small and cold in hers. "Tell me what, Mrs. Whitmore?" "That I'm sorry. For every cruel word. For testing you every single day, waiting for you to fail me like everyone else has. For being too proud and too afraid to accept the only real kindness anyone's shown me in years." Eleanor's grip tightened. "You saw me. Really saw me. Not the difficult patient or the bitter old woman, but me. And I was too much of a coward to acknowledge it." Before Maria could respond, the door burst open. A woman in an expensive suit strode in, her heels clicking sharply against the floor. She was perhaps 40, with Eleanor's same sharp features softened by time and better temperament. Her eyes were red-rimmed with worry. "Mother," she breathed, rushing to the bedside before stopping short at seeing Maria. "Who are you?" "This is Maria," Eleanor said, her voice suddenly stronger. "The woman I told you about. The one who saved me." "Saved you?" The daughter looked confused. "I don't understand." Eleanor's story came tumbling out then, how she'd been so angry at being abandoned in this facility, how she'd pushed everyone away, how she'd been drowning in loneliness and rage until one janitor refused to be pushed, refused to leave, refused to stop showing up with kindness day after day after day. "I was dying here," Eleanor said simply. "Not from any disease, but from isolation. From feeling like I didn't matter anymore. And then this woman, who I treated abominably, kept treating me like I was worth something. She saved my life in the ways that actually matter." The daughter was crying now too. "I'm Catherine," she said, turning to Maria. "Catherine Whitmorchan. I'm so grateful." She stopped, really looking at Maria for the first time. At the worn uniform, the cleaning cart visible through the doorway, the tired eyes in a kind face. "You're a janitor here?" Maria nodded, suddenly aware of how she must look to this polished professional woman. Catherine's expression shifted into something Maria couldn't quite read. "My mother is being discharged today. I'm moving her into a private care facility, the best in the state. I'd like you to come with her. As her personal care companion. Triple whatever salary you're making here, full benefits, and I'll put your daughter through nursing school. Full scholarship." Maria's breath caught. She looked at Eleanor, who was nodding eagerly, then back at Catherine. "I don't understand." "Why would you?" "Because you did something no amount of money could buy," Catherine said softly. "You treated my mother with dignity when she was at her most unlovable. You saw her humanity when everyone else saw a problem. That's not something I can put a price on, but I can try to honor it." She paused. "Also, I should mention, I own this building. I inherited it 2 years ago. When Mother needed care, I wanted her close to my office. I've been reviewing all the staff files, and your name kept appearing. Patient commendations. Coworker testimonials. But seeing you here, understanding what you've done for my mother," her voice broke. "You gave her back her will to live. Let me give you something in return." Maria looked at her hands, work-worn and calloused, then at Eleanor, who was watching her with hope and something that looked like love.